Can you
Hello?
can you hear me? Oh, okay, there's my video. Hold on a
Hear
second.
you.
Uh, all right, that's awesome. Hello, Michael. How are
I am not
you?
getting any sound.
No
Why
sound?
is that?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There you are. My speakers were disabled for some reason.
Yeah, my video camera was like disabled too, and I've been like testing this thing all day,
Good.
just trying to make sure it works. So, how are you, Michael? It's good to see
I
you.
am. I'm good. Incredibly stressed because I'm working on a cross-country move for my fiance, a wedding, a honeymoon. We just bought a house, so we got a whole lot of life events happening, kind of all on top of each other. But life is good, and it's a grand adventure.
That's so awesome. Well, congratulations. I know you're a busy
Thank you.
guy, so I want to start
Yeah,
off by
indeed.
I want to start off by saying I appreciate you taking the time out to
Sure.
do the session and talk to me.
Yeah, I'm glad you found time to take me up on it.
So, first thing, could you just kind of just introduce yourself a little bit and
Sure.
tell us about your little projects and stuff? Well, not little
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're pretty big stuff. So, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, sure. Michael Schwalbe, and I have been a full-time voice actor for approaching 5 years now. And I got my start doing, well, I thought when I was in college that I was going to do broadcast journalism because all my professors were like, you've got a great voice for the news and for broadcast. And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I realized I hated journalists. And so specifically the ones at that school, I was at the University of Missouri at the time, which is just like militant, like left wing, really. I, it was bad, a bad fit for me. Not that I'm, a conservative alt-right anybody, but it just wasn't a good fit. So decided to do the music business. So I moved to Nashville and um, got into Belmont doing music business program there, and uh, then wound up at Warner Music Group in the Christian music division, just selling music. And then their media team there um, was like, "Hey, do you want to do the company phone system?" And I was like, "Sure." And then they're like, "Do you want to do this artist a video for this artist and narrate it?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then by the time that they were like, "Hey, do you want to do Blake Shelton's CMA promotion?" And I was like, "Hold on, are you gonna pay me?" And they're like, "Well, you're on the payroll, so." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm on the payroll in Christian sales division, like across the street in another building, not on the artist creative media division over here. Like, surely you can throw me a couple of $100 to do Blake Shelton's CMA promotion." No, sorry, we can't. So I was like, you know what? If I'm good enough for Blake Shelton, I'm good enough for anybody. I'm going to do that for my job, and then I'm going to bill you for it. So, but that was kind of the validation that I could do it. And then ever since then, I just tried to approach it like it was my sales job, which
Hmm.
is, so I would research processes and um, different clients that because kind of the sales and I identify who is a client, who do I think wants what I'm selling. Video producers, video game developers, ad agencies. And so then you say, okay, so if I identify who needs my products and services, where are they?
Yeah.
And so then the answer would be like, well, production houses or, at these like different companies. So then you're like, okay, well, I'll reach out to those. Well, then for me, I had that thought about video games because I love video games. And I was like, well, how am I, like, if I want to get with indie game developers, how do I do that? Because they're not, unlike a lot of the corporate stuff, it's harder to find video game people just posting stuff online.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe conventions. And so I started Googling video game conventions. and specifically video game developer conventions. And the first one that came up is GDC. GDC stands for Game Developer Conference. And it's by far the biggest one in the world. It happens every year in San Francisco. And so I was just like, well, that's where I need to be. And so I just saved up some money and flew out to San Francisco and started just handing out cards and meeting with the people that were showing their games at the expo, and then more importantly afterwards writing really detailed personalized follow-ups to everybody. I took every year that I went, it would take me a couple weeks of just hours a day on my stack of 300 cards that I would come home with. I would go to their website, I would see what they were working on, watch the video that they were doing or something, so I could talk about what they were doing like I had paid attention to it.
Yeah.
And because if you pay attention to what somebody else is doing, they'll pay attention to what you're doing. So I did that, and then kind of got a reputation as like sending the best follow-ups in the biz, and then just got really well connected with the game audio community that was at this convention, because it's a pretty tight-knit community, like voiceover. They all know each other. So then I just started getting referrals and started getting games, and now I've done probably a few dozen video games, and then the caliber of the games that I'm being asked to do just keeps getting
higher and higher
and bigger. Yeah, which is, it's exciting. Couple really soon to be announced at E conference. I'm really excited for when I can start talking about those. But so that's kind of what projects I'm working on now. I'm also represented by a slew of talent agencies, and so that's kind of how you try to get the larger commercial jobs. But those are much more competitive and inconsistent, I guess. Maybe I'm not as good at them. I think I am, but I book them less consistently. This year particularly has been pretty slow commercial-wise.
Well, based on when I went to your website and I was listening, I couldn't choose which demo I loved the most. Like, it was like, is this like 100 different guys? Because, dude, your voice is like, from like with the video gaming and the character, you go high pitch and then you kind of add an accent to it, and it's just like completely different person. It was so crazy.
Thank you. I've been called a vocal chameleon, and I think that's pretty appropriate. I just really groove on trying to expand the vocal toolbox, like figuring out like different resonance placements and different ways that you can make yourself sound like other people, and more importantly, what makes people sound like different people. And because it's a collection of a bunch of different layers, and then by kind of adding and subtracting these different layers, you can create a palette that you can do a whole lot with, because like if somebody's got my voice like right here, but maybe they're from Brooklyn or something, and like so you just add a little bit of a layer in there, so then like you're from New York, but like it's not over the top, but like maybe he's a mobster and he's like he's not very smart, you know what I'm saying? So and maybe he's been smoking his whole life, so he's got kind of that rasp to his voice or something.
That's
so like
cool.
you just keep adding and subtracting those layers, and or maybe he's kind of old and quavery a little bit. So that's kind of how I approach character work, is I just like try to identify a few different layers that this character's voice might encompass through like the life choices he's made or the body type that he has. If he's really fat, maybe it's really hard for him to breathe, so he's kind of always wheezing a little bit.
So you kind of put like a character kind of detail to it, and then kind of try to fit it into that space to make him, come into that character. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's all layered with the layers. Like then, if somebody that's directing you says, "Well, we wanted to make him not sound like we wanted to make him a little shorter, and then you'd be like, all right, well, then that would come across maybe as being a little more like nasally, like a Joe Pesci kind of guy, you know. So he's maybe talks a little bit faster, but he's kind of so there's just and if you don't know like what characteristics are composing that character, like what attributes are making up that voice, it's a lot harder to change your performance to be directable. So, and being directable is how you get called back.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I mean, I know on the what he said voiceovers.com on your website, I looked at your commercial videos, and I have to say I think my favorite one was your Nickelodeon one. I was like, that's not
Pretty
him.
good, right?
That was amazing. And then the Wendy's one was hilarious. So I have to say, I know I could probably learn a lot from you.
And the Wendy's one was a lot of fun because I got to work with one of it's almost a joke by this point that we always get cast together for things. But my friend Andy Barnett, who's another great voice actor, he's the announcer in that, and then I was the monkey. And we've worked together on like the first project we did together was a vacation Bible school program, and he was the captain and I was the first mate on this like SS adventure, like vacation Bible school thing. But then like I was doing a big video game and I was the main character in it, and then he got cast. I was casting that one, and then he ended up booking the role of like the secondary main character in it. So we got to work together on that. And then we got this Wendy's campaign together, and which was just total coincidence. So it's like, dude, yeah, let's do it. So
Wow.
it's always fun when you can work with your friends.
Yeah, that definitely makes it better. Well, what are we doing today, Michael?
We are doing whatever you want to. I'm happy to talk about business tactics, character work, how to find agents, union stuff. If you've just got like technology questions, I can try to help with that. This is all about you and what your needs are right now.
I think right now my biggest like concern right now is trying to find the right brand. I cannot seem to find the right something that fits me, and I'm just like, and it's kind of bumming me out a little bit because like it took me the biggest reason why it took me so long, I mean, of course, besides having my son, to actually get started, was that I couldn't figure out what I wanted to go by, because I know that I tried to go by my original name, but I know my name is complicated. My mom wanted to make it special, and she made it so special that nobody can pronounce it. So...
Yeah. Well, and even if they can pronounce it, like it's more important that they can spell it so they can find you.
Yeah.
And so like I kind of had that same issue where nobody knows how to pronounce or spell Schwalbe, and so that's why, because there's a big, I don't know necessarily if I'd say argument, but there's two big schools of thought in that half the industry thinks you should make your brand your name, and then that's you. And then half of them are like, you should go by, a business name because it's easier to remember. And there's like so many people that are just a name, voice.com.
Yeah.
that you could be lost if you're not already identifiable. So I definitely lean toward the school of at least at the beginning, starting with either a brand name, or I like the Neeksy, I think is cute. So I think, and you're like, look at your cat ears. So and you've just got kind of a very bubbly and happy and energetic kind of voice. And so I think a name like Neeksy kind of communicates something like that. And I feel like Neeksy is like, I would assume that would be spelled the way you're spelling it, like Neeksy. So
yeah, it was supposedly supposed to be like a play on my name. So like in my Shaniqua Carter, so I just take the Neek out, and I put C, but I just made it SY. So I thought that was clever, but then I talked to somebody and they was like, what? and I get that a lot when I try to tell people what the name is. I'm like, it's Neeksy, and they be like, huh? I'm just like, is it that difficult? So I'm just like, now I'm just in a place where I might have to just kind of either choose to go back to that or just completely rebrand in general, because
Right.
I was talking, I've already actually met with another one of the females that here in Okinawa that runs a consulting marketing company, and she was going to actually help me design my logo this weekend, and then I was actually going to get my professional photos in like about 2 weeks. So now I'm not sure. So
Uh-huh.
it's kind of bumming me out. I don't know.
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, I know some people are like, huh? But like the reality is that I get people saying, huh, when I say, oh no, it's what he said voiceovers. And then like maybe 1/10 of the time people are like, hey, I get it. That's funny. That's clever. So like it's not super important that like they know like where it comes from, or because you can always put like in your about section like Nixie, Shaniqua Carter, like whatever. But then really what matters is if I say the website is nixievoices.com or something like that, that people are like, oh, okay, Nixie, is that Neeksy or something like that? And so it kind of makes sense. At least I think it does. That, but another person you might look up, some branding. She is a great branding consultant. Is Celia Siegel?
I knew it. I seen it coming.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hear
she's
about
awesome.
her. Yeah.
I haven't worked with her myself, but she created Doug Turkel's brand, the Announcer, which is one of the best VO brands I've ever heard. Because he's the unannouncer, basically. He's the anti-announcer. So his voice website is unnouncer.com. And so all his branding is based around that like that he does things a little differently. But for you, I think having a not catchy, but like a tagline that is appropriate for what you're doing. A logo is important, so I'm glad that you said you're consulting with somebody about a logo. And I think that just taking something and sticking with it matters more than like creating racking your brain about what's the most perfect possible brand, because ideally the goal is that you get successful enough that your people will know what your brand is regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I'm now kind of more to the point where I don't think many people know what he said voiceovers, that like out here people more know me. Because again, Schwalbe is unique and there aren't many of us in the voiceover biz with that name, and you'll have that same experience when you start booking a lot. But like for doing corporate stuff or video game stuff, having that company brand name of like what he said voiceovers, LLC for me, makes people think, oh, it's a company.
You're breaking up a little bit. What was
I'm
that?
sorry. I said that having that name or that company name, like what he said voiceovers LLC, makes people think, oh, it's not just one guy, it's a company that does this. And so from a corporate side, that can make you look more professional.
Yeah.
So it kind of also depends on what kind of work you think you're going to be doing. If you think you're going to be shopping yourself out to explainer companies or, a lot of video game people that want to hire multiple actors and actresses, then maybe having a company name is better. If you're going to be just trying to market directly to like talent agencies or commercial work where they're hiring you to be you, then maybe something more with your personal name is better. So what kind of work do you think you're going to be aiming for?
I haven't quite found my niche yet. So, at this time, since I'm started working, since I'll be starting with Everett, he's gonna hopefully help me find out, where I might fit.
Uh,
I am sort of like how you were. I'm interested in gaming. I'm kind of a weirdo. I don't actually play the games, but I like to watch gameplays. I know, it's strange.
yeah. No, I find myself doing that too. Because like you get all the enjoyment of seeing the game and somebody's reaction to it without the frustration of me losing if I'm not, if I'm not very good at it. So, um, okay, well, Everett does a lot of animation
Hmm.
primarily. I don't know what his commercial background is, but I personally, for what it's worth, I think you've got a great commercial read. And I think you've got a great voice for commercial stuff, especially nowadays. Like, I don't want to say like it's trendy, but equality is kind of trendy right now. And so
Yeah.
like a lot of female black talent are getting a lot of work right now because that flavor is very in with companies that want to look like they're progressive.
Hmm.
So so
Yeah.
the pendulum is swinging your way. So, so I think you can get a lot of commercial work because you've got that bright, happy, like energetic, youthful sound that a lot of companies are looking for. And so I think try a bunch of different stuff,
Yeah.
and see what sticks. It took me. I still don't know if I know what my niche is. I mean, obviously video games a lot. But my first was over my five big ones were
Hold
five
on.
completely different industries.
I'm sorry, you were breaking
So it
up
was
again.
like,
My
oh, I'm sorry.
internet here in Japan is not good. I'm just
Oh, really?
putting that out there. Yeah, it's we have like the most expensive package, and I swear half the time my internet's not working or doing
That
something
sucks.
crazy.
Well, just tell me if you need me to repeat anything. So, yeah, my first year of voiceover, my five biggest clients were in five different, very different genres, and so I
Hmm.
was like, well, shit. Um, how do I figure out what my niche is if I'm booking stuff in all these different areas? So, but that's kind of good too, like if you get something, then you can just try it, go for it, and you've got a chance at it. Now, since then, I've noticed that like for some reason, to like technology and then cryptocurrency ads and videos have like booked me like crazy. I've got like three different clients that constantly send me videos and tutorials and stuff about phone apps and Bitcoin and stuff like that. So I don't know if I've just got a voice for cryptocurrency. Is that a thing? I don't know.
It looks like it
But
is for you.
yeah, it's weird because they're not related to each other. They're different companies, but they all like my voice for it. So I think it's probably because I sound sort of youthful, but my voice is a little deeper, so it's got a little more authoritativeness. So people think like you can trust me. He's knowledgeable, like he's telling you what it is. So figuring out what adjectives pertain to your voice is important too, because then you can kind of know what you can go for. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
but
I'm
then,
really
but
open to trying it all, to be honest.
yeah, I think you should.
It'd just be nice to do like animation or,
I'm still
gaming.
trying. I'm still trying to get into animation to the extent that I want to. I I'm with CESD now, and they do a lot of big animated projects, and but it's kind of tough to at the national agencies to always get all the auditions that you want them to send to you. So
Hmm.
I'm still trying to work on like convincing them, hey, I do lots of characters. You should send me all the character auditions because
You
I
would
can.
think, like, with your character voices and then your gaming voices and how different they are, you would think that would be able to go into animation, like, easy. That's crazy.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, they've sent me quite a few, but
You're breaking
also
up.
like I've
Hold
got
on.
someone.
You said they sent you quite a
Uh,
few.
yeah, they sent me quite a few when I first got to the agency, but then it's gotten slower in the last couple months. But honestly, I've been so crazy busy the last few months with getting the wedding ready and traveling all the time and getting this house put together that if I booked a big animated show, I don't know if I'd have the time commitment to be able to do it right now, which sucks. So I'm just convinced that like it's in God's time, and like right now my season of life is just get my life events in order, and then in July and August after my fiance Courtney is out here in LA with me, then we can really hit the ground running and start tackling more auditions and stuff. But in the meantime, I've just doing these indie video games and stuff is still a lot of fun, and a big one came out a couple days ago that has been very exciting.
Is it Bless?
Yeah, Bless Online.
Yeah.
I didn't know how big it was.
Yeah.
/ it's apparently really big. There were 45,000 people watching it on Twitch. That was the third.
It's a role playing RPG, isn't it?
It's an MMO, kind of like World of Warcraft kind of a game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did 10 something characters for that, and also did the casting for it. So that was fun because I like getting to give work to my friends. So, are you on my casting list?
I don't think I am.
All right. Well, let me send you the link so you can fill that out. There hasn't been much this year just because I didn't get to go to any conventions this year. Just my brother got married, and then that happened on the day of one of them, and I've just been so busy. But here, I'm sending this to you right now. And whenever you get a chance, you can fill that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Where did Facebook? Okay. So, branding. So I think, personally, I think you should try to maybe run with Nixie, or the She VO is fine too. What's the story behind that? Or is it Shy?
Hold on a second, sorry. It's supposed to be Shy. So the SHI was supposed to be Shy VO, but
okay.
I kept saying She VO, okay. So that bothered me. So I was like, maybe if I just do the correct spelling, that most people would, pronounce it correctly, because, going through the phase of having to deal with people constantly saying your name wrong, it kind of sucks. And I've been going through that all my life. So I was trying to avoid that. But apparently the SHI
I just missed all that. You broke up.
I broke up. Okay, I was saying, so the SHI it's supposed to be pronounced Shy, but I kept saying She VO, and it bothered me because I'm constantly living with a name that people have a hard time pronouncing, and I was trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
So I was gonna change the SHY, but now I'm just like, maybe I should have stuck with what I had in the first place.
I think the problem with doing something like Shy VO is that then people will think, like, because it's also an adjective, so then people are gonna assume, oh, well, is it like a shy sounding voiceover? Because then if they've got something that's like really energetic, they might not think, oh, well, that my first thought is Shy VO, So something that's like Nixie doesn't have an emotional connotation with it aside from just kind of sounding cute. So something that is an adjective I usually try to stay away from in branding, because it can kind of pigeonhole you from other jobs that are a different connotation or whatever. So I think Nixie would still work better. And just what you don't want to do is, Faith Cruz, or pardon me, Sophia.
Yes.
So she's changed her name and her branding like 4 times.
Sophia Cruz. I hold on. I'm thinking I know. I probably don't really know unless I see your face, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, she's a really, really talented actress and a friend of mine and Christy's, and just really, really sweet. But she's gone on this journey of like kind of self-discovery and figuring out her branding and her identity and everything. And so she's changed her name, like I think her legal name, like 3 times. And so that can be really tough from a business standpoint, because and she knew it, and she was like, I know this is going to be like resetting my SEO and everything to square one, but for my personal reasons, I feel like I have to do that. So my cautionary tale is like, if you do pick something, you're going to have a lot easier time just making that one work than you will be like, no, I think I'll change it to this. No, I'll change it to this. Like, just when you pick one, for better or for worse, just go with it. And unless it's like really bad, but I don't think it
Yeah.
is. So I think
think
you
I
should
might
just
go
try
back to
Neek.
Nixie. Yeah, cause like that was my childhood nickname. My granddad used to
Perfect.
call me Neek Neek. I just added the C because I got married.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And congratulations.
thank you so much. So I don't know. Yeah, I kind of miss that
What's
name.
your hesitation about Neeksy? Just the people that were like, what is that?
Yeah, I was getting that a lot, so I just kind of shied away
From
from it a little
from
bit.
who, I guess.
I don't want to put no names out
Oh,
there.
sure, sure.
Yeah, I don't, cause
But just was it like people that you were talking to in person, or was it other voice actors, or
it was other voice actors and people that I was talking to like around, like just trying when I was trying to get an idea of what it could be.
okay.
So
I think like honestly you can just or even you can know how you came up with the name, but it's probably just the shorter and sweeter the explanation, the better. And you say, well, my name is Shaniqua and Neeksy is my nickname, and then people be like, oh, done. So,
I like that. That works.
yeah. So that you don't need to go and like, well, there was this my grandfather, and then my like, I got married, so I added the C to the end. Like, they don't really like need. They just need an explanation that like some.
Hold on, you're breaking up. Don't film me now, camera. Don't film me now. Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Okay. Uh-oh.
There.
Okay, yeah, it stalled a little bit. Okay. Uh
Yeah, you froze for like 15 seconds. Sorry about that. My internet here is great, so it's not,
Lucky you.
I know. No, I put up, man, in Nashville, my internet was so bad. My internet was like, it would just go out and break up. And for years, my top speed was like 18 megabits, and the service was terrible. And then out here, my service is more than 20 times that speed, and it's incredible. But
Yeah.
anyway, I like Neeksy. I think just saying, well, my name is Shaniqua and Neeksy is my nickname, and then people will be like, oh, that's cute. I like it. So, and then I guarantee you the other benefit of that name is that you will not be competing with anybody.
That's
Nobody
true.
else, nobody else has that branding, and that there's not going to be a Michael Schwalbe or like a Neeksy.com or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, whereas like MichaelSchwalbe.com is taken. There's a sociology professor that
Yeah.
wrote books, and his name is Michael Schwalbe. And so,
Well, good thing I bought the domain for Nixie.
good,
Because
yeah,
it's nixievo.com. And I
okay,
bought it because I was like, that's what I'm going to go with. So now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, yeah, I'm probably going to change back to Nixie.
yeah, do that. I would recommend buy a couple of them, and then you can like link them back to each other,
Mm-hmm.
and redirect them. So if you like, I own. I think it's like videogamevoiceacting.com and like a bunch of like 8 others that are similar to that. But if you do like nixievo.com or nixievoices.com or,
Mm-hmm.
and then just have them kind of link back to each other, that just helps your Google ranking
Okay.
too. And it doesn't cost very much.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. But like I couldn't for some reason I couldn't figure out how to get that name through Google. So I got it through American Registry, but
Okay.
I'm going to try I don't know if
I
that
think I got mine through GoDaddy.
so does it kind of matter like if you did Google or American
No.
Registry or anything like that? Okay.
They're just different companies that all provide the same service, which is just selling and registering domain names.
Okay. Let's see. I'm definitely going to do that. And I'm glad I had you to kind of put instill that confidence back in that
Yeah, it's like
name.
that's one of the things about like just the creative business in general is like you'll
Hold on, you're breaking up
is and
again.
like this is all you really need to make the,
Hold on a second. Yeah, you're breaking up again. Okay,
oh,
now
there you go.
I think it's a little bit clear.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, like you'll have ideas or like, in the singing world, it's the same thing. Like you can be a good singer, but until somebody's like, no, yeah, you're doing it the right way. Like you take a lesson and they're, no, yeah, your technique is good. Then you're like, all right, now I feel validated, I can pursue
Yeah.
it. So I think Nixie VO or Nixie voices, I like Nixie voices personally, but not that my opinion doesn't matter that much. But,
Your opinion matters a lot. Look where you are, okay?
it's
I
still
I value your
it's
opinion.
well, thank you. I'm glad, but I don't know. It's you'll be here in 5 years from now, and people will be asking your advice too. So it's been a weird journey, but it's also like as a creative, it can be really hard to like stop the grind and the like take a step back and just kind of say, like look what I've accomplished. I've actually managed to make it because you never feel like you've made it. There's always other people that are booking more or like
Hmm.
getting bigger agencies. And so, be like try to appreciate when the little victories come around and just say like look at where 2 years ago and I would have thought where I'm at now is like unattainable,
Yeah.
So, yeah. But what else do we want to talk about?
Actually had a list of questions.
All right.
I was doing a
I
little bit
like that
of
you're prepared.
yeah, I was doing a little bit of research. I think, but I think for the most part, you actually answered. Uh, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, here's one. I was actually gonna ask you what equipment do you use to record
Sure.
in. You know,
Well, I just got my first actual vocal booth.
I saw that.
Woo!
It looks
So,
awesome. I was like, maybe I need to get one of those one of these days.
yeah. I would say it's pretty unnecessary expense if you're in some place that's got like a good walk-in closet or a good um, like a good corner that you can hang some moving blankets around. You can get a pretty similar sound quality from that. But if you're living in a place that like my new place here has very tall ceilings and it's very echoey, so like trying to treat a room. Oh, there's also not really any good walk,
You're breaking up.
but it's very again. And,
What was that?
can you hear me now?
Almost. Okay, there we go.
The the ceilings in my house are very tall, and so everything echoes a lot. And so trying to manually sound treat a room to record in would be really really hard. So for me, it made sense to buy a vocal booth that I can record in. But like my previous two apartments. I just record. I had a little walk-in closet, and I'd stick my mic in there and put up some soundproofing on the door and whatever. And so I would just record in there, and it sounded good. And I did a lot of my work from those. But my microphone of choice, I'm using a Sennheiser 416.
Okay.
The 416 is about as standard a microphone in this business as you can get. It is by far the most popular voiceover microphone. I would say in the professional world, probably at least 60 to 70% of voice talent use that microphone.
Hmm.
They'll have sales periodically where you can pick one up new for about 800, and you can find them used for probably six.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
I'm probably gonna hold off on that.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna get a little bit better.
Yeah. Oh, sure, sure.
You know.
A good starter microphone that's like a lot of quality for the money is the Rode NT1A. They're about $200, 250, and
Can
that's
you
a
say that one
studio.
more time? You said
The
Rode.
Rode RODE
Mm-hmm.
NT1A.
1A. Okay. I'm asking you again, like I can't go back and look at the video. Okay.
Yeah, right. It's fine. So that's really popular. And then I use so my 416 is going into my compressor, preamp, EQ, which is the Avalon 737,
Mm-hmm.
and that is also probably something for later down the road
Yeah,
because
because I don't even know what that is yet.
they're they're about $2,500.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
So basically, it just makes your microphone sound a lot better. It's a tube preamp, so
Yeah.
it runs the analog signal through these tubes and stuff, which kind of gives it this warmth and a presence. And then it also has a built-in optometric compressor, and so you can adjust the frequency of what's coming through or the ratio and some other like technical stuff like that. I don't get to what sounds good with a friend's help that knows more than me, and then I just leave it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people use the Avalon 737 or an Avalon M5. But again, those are just tippy top, kind of tip top tier stuff. Really, if you want like good quality for not much money, you can do the Rode NT1A into a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2.
That's what I have. I have
Yeah,
like the microphone and the little. I bought it, but I don't even know the name of it. The little box that comes with it. What's it called? Hold on, I might be able to show you. Let me see. Take a picture.
my Avalon is running. So I got my 416 into the Avalon, and then the Avalon goes into my Focusrite.
So it's this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing. I don't know what the name of it is.
That's the 2i2.
Okay. That's what the actual. I thought it had a different name to it. Okay.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
But so that's probably the next, like, if I want to upgrade something else in my signal chain, I would probably, and signal chain is just where the signal goes through,
Yeah.
But the Focusrite is good. It's probably also one of the most popular interfaces and in the business. But I'm thinking of getting an Apollo Twin because it's just a lot bigger and fancier.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know how much. It might make me sound like 1% better. You by this like point, every $1,000 you spend on gear gives you about like 1% better sound. But
Yeah.
like if you go into a session or you send in an audition and you're 98% as good as somebody, the 100% guy is going to get the job.
Yeah.
So it's worth eventually. Making sure that your gear is pretty bulletproof. But when you're starting, it's not
Yeah.
a necessity.
I'm actually still kind of learning the Focusrite. So I mean, I like the
Yeah.
sound because I have the Chaotica eyeball. And
Yeah,
when
I
sit it
used one of
over
those
it,
for a while.
and then when I listen to it, I'm just like, oh, that sounds pretty good. Ooh.
Yeah.
What editing software do you
I
use?
use Adobe Audition.
Oh, you're okay. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to go to Adobe because I gotta
Are you,
understand Audacity first.
uh,
Oh, hold on, you're breaking up. It's probably gonna freeze for a little bit. Oh, okay.
how about now?
Yeah, you're back.
All right. Yeah, we're back. But I think Audacity is really unintuitive and hard for me anyway. I struggled to figure it out. The thing with recording software though is that like it's not going to change how you sound. It's all just ones and zeros. So the signal that goes into Audacity is going to be the same quality as the signal that goes into Adobe Audition. It just depends on like what kind of bells and whistles you want the program to have and if it works with your workflow.
Yeah. I mean, if Audacity does seem a little bit complicated. My biggest issue with Audacity is that you gotta like click to the top to when you slice things to delete them. You gotta click to the top constantly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to do that on Adobe or
I
anything else, but
I just hit the delete button or
see, I
backspace.
don't understand why they didn't just do that. I don't get it because that was so
Maybe
much
there's
easier.
maybe there's a way to like hotkey it.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Could be.
Yeah, that's what I've got in Audition. I've got all the presets that I want. I've got them hotkeyed, so like when I'm editing, I just hit the D key to put a dynamic compressor, and then the H key to put a hard limiter on it, and then like the N key to normalize it. So I'm just like boop, 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 done.
So that's what you kind of just kind of do a few clicks and stuff here, like normalizing and.
Yeah, I don't do much. I don't like delete my breaths unless they're really obvious. I don't, because like people breathe when they talk.
Yeah, it's natural breath, so it would
Yeah,
make
like
sense to
people
keep
don't
them.
some voice actors have this like paralyzing fear about leaving in small imperfections, but like people want conversational natural reads, and that's what people sound like when they're having a conversation. So like less is more, in my opinion. You don't need to go through and like, oh, the way I said this T was just really wrong. And then like I need to redo that line, you know. It's better, like good enough is good enough, really.
Okay, that's.
So don't spend a ton of time on your auditions, unless it's a huge job. But like, because the other thing that happens to me is if I spend 20 minutes on an audition, suddenly like my takes don't even sound that good. I'm like listening back, and the first take I did is like, well, that was the one, you know, that when I was still coming to it.
Hold on, you're breaking up.
And like, because if you're just sitting,
You're breaking up. Hold on a second. Give it a second. Oh goodness. I think you're good now.
Okay, because if like by the end of 20 minutes of redos, you're so practiced and like rehearsed sounding that it takes the spontaneity and the natural sound out of it, because you've got the cadence stuck in your head now, and then it's just going to come across being like, oh, well, he's just reading that line by that point. So I try to just keep it very like, take 2 or 3 takes of it, listen through, pick the one I like the best, maybe cut in a bit of the other one if I liked it a little more in one part, and then just send it off. Try not to spend more than 5 minutes for me on an audition, unless it's a really big one that I want to make sure I do right. But even then, like 10 or 15 is the max for my auditions. But
Yeah.
that's just newer talent, especially if you're not getting many auditions. Like I've heard of people spending an hour on an audition, you know, and it's like, you're kind of wasting your time, honestly, because it's not going to sound appreciably better after an hour.
Yeah, it just started sounding worse.
Yeah. So,
I have actually one more question.
okay.
Because I know you got things to do. So, what are some exercises that you do when you're warming up your voice?
People ask me this question, and they always like, I've had people get like frustrated with my answer. I don't do any warm-ups ever.
Really? You just kind of go in there.
I don't. And again, my partially it's a rationalization, probably because I'm lazy, but partially like it's, again, going back to the natural thing, is that how many times do you like warm up your voice before you have a conversation with your friend?
Not
ever?
at all.
Yeah, you know, so you don't sit there and be like, hold on, Neeksy, let me just like, like, you know, I'm not like, you know, so yeah. So I don't do any warm-ups, but when I'm doing that, you know, the difference is like if you're the kind of person and you wake up like and you're just like
dry voice,
frog, dry and foggy, you know, so then
hold on, you're breaking up.
And then I'll just hum myself like a.
Hold on,
How about now?
All right. Okay, try that again.
It's funny that you can hear it when I'm not talking. But So like if I'm having, if I've woken up and I'm like just really like I'll try to just do some gentle humming, like to like kind of bridge the different registers in my voice. Or if it's like something that is a deep read and maybe I'm not quite there, I'll just kind of try try to get my voice down there if it's a deeper read. But for the most part, I don't do warm-ups.
Okay.
Now for singing, I do warm-ups for singing jobs because that's a little more strenuous. But talking's supposed to be super natural and easy.
Yeah,
right? So,
I read that you're a little performer and musician, singing and stuff. I was like, well, you go, huh? Was it I've sang, Belmont?
I've performed everything from classical, jazz, opera, swing, blues, rock, metal, Southern gospel, Christian contemporary. I mean, almost every genre.
Yeah.
My crowning achievement, I got a double standing ovation with my one singing group I was in at the Ryman, and that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really neat. It was an a cappella group, and there was like a choral, like choir conference there, but we killed it, and so we got two of our 4 songs. We got standing ovations, and so that was pretty awesome.
Well, you just kicking butt out there, and it's really
I'm trying.
To see. It's really cool to see. But before we go, I want to ask, what can the audience do to support you?
Hire me. No, they can just go be my friend on Facebook, and if they hear of anybody they know that's needs a new phone system at their company or a new, whatever, or feel free to just call me up and ask me some questions. I think my good timing, my washer and dryer are just arriving. Yeah. But I mean, for the most part, just pay it forward and be nice to creative people and add me on Facebook. And if you like video games, buy my games.
Absolutely. I downloaded Ninja Spin, so I'm going to try it tonight.
Oh, good. They shifter on that one. The original read was "Hello, my name is Onimaru. I'm a demon ninja from the demon realm." But anyway, I gotta go. Looks like our thing is here, and but this was fun, and don't be a stranger.
I'm gonna come to LA and visit.
So. Yes, do it.
All right, man. Care. Take it easy. Bye.